Houston. Houston, we have a problem. DJ Apollo has landed. I repeat, DJ Apollo has landed at Hitmix 88.9 WEIU.
Welcome to the Tales of Music and Film podcast, and I go by the name DJ Apollo. And I just want to say good evening or good morning to you whenever you are listening to this episode. We are on episode number 21, and I just recorded episode 20 just the other day, and I covered the Traveling Wilburys Volume 1, and that was a big album that I was so excited to cover. But today, we are back on the topic of music, but we are not going to be reviewing a particular album. Today, I'm going to be talking about another big concert that I consider to be one of the highlights of my life. So, question for all you listening to this, who was it, what musician introduced you to rock and roll or just music in general? Who was the very first artist whose voice you heard, and they were the ones who had you hooked on rock and roll for the rest of your life? For me, it was John Fogerty of Creedence Clearwater Revival. The very first band I got into was Creedence when I was 12 years old. And the reason I got into this band was because back in the day, I was a huge fan of the TV show called Supernatural. In the season 1 finale, our three main characters end up in a car wreck where a semi-truck collides into their car. And the very last shot that we see before it cuts to black is them all knocked out in their vehicle, and the song Bad Moon Rising was playing over the car's radio. And that song, the minute I heard it, little me was like, that sounds amazing. What song is that? And my dad told me that it was Bad Moon Rising by Creedence. So I looked it up and I started listening to that song over and over again. Then I got introduced to Fortunate Son, Have You Ever Seen Rain, Run Through the Jungle, Traveling Band. Just the list is endless. And another big reason I got into this band was because my grandpa House, let me borrow his 2-disc collector's set of the Creedence band and all their hits. And I listened to that disc daily for many, many years. And Creedence has still, to this very day, become one of my favorite bands of all time. I just listened to the band just the other day when I was driving back home to my hometown to pick up a couple of things at my house. I was gifted a 3-disc collector's set for my 18th birthday from my grandmother on my 18th birthday. And the case is extremely worn out by this point because I've listened to everything on there millions of times through. And AC/DC is my favorite band of all time, but I will always have a special place in my heart for Creedence Clearwater Revival. They were nicknamed the American Beatles, and it's like, that's literally who they were. This band was legendary, and they accomplished so much in just 5 years. The band was only together for 5 years, from about 1967 to 1972, so it didn't last very long, but in those 5 years, they made history with their music. And, cut 50 years later, since a ton of their songs are featured in almost every Vietnam movie. It's like, you can't watch a Vietnam movie anymore without hearing Fortunate Son. Like, it's literally like a Hollywood rule that song has to be featured in every Vietnam movie known to man. It's hilarious. And the reason I talk about Creedence so much is for this. I saw John Fogerty live, and he was the lead singer for the band. I saw him live on June 17th, 2018, on Father's Day with my dad at the St. Louis Amphitheater. And this concert has always held a big place in my heart because everything about it was just it could be like, I could write a book about it. It was like poetry. I got to see this man live, this guy's voice who introduced me to rock and roll, the very first musician I started listening to when I was a kid, and I saw him live. I got to hear that very voice that drew me in into listening to his music live. How crazy is that? And on top of that, I got to see one of the greatest trio bands of all time open up for him, ZZ Top. This tour that I saw them on was called Blues and Bayous. It was a tour around North America where ZZ Top was opening up for John Fogerty on every tour stop. Billy Gibbons would actually come out on stage and sing him and John would come out and they would sing a song together about halfway through John's set list, and it was called The Holy Holy Grail. Now, this concert, I think about it every day, and the fact it's already been, 5 years just blows my mind. But this concert was so incredible. And the set list for it was amazing. Just to give you an idea, John literally did like all the Creedence stuff. He literally opened up with Traveling Band, Hey Tonight, Rock and Roll Girls. Rock and Roll Girls was actually a song featured off John's soul album from 1985 called Center Field, which is like a huge milestone record. Then he played Who'll Stop the Rain, Good Golly Miss Molly, Up and Around the Bend, and then, of course, the Holy Grail song with Billy Gibbons. It's just, dude, when he did that song with Billy, it's just like I'm watching two rock and roll icons share the stage together, singing that song. And these Creedence songs, hearing John Fogerty live, it takes you back in the 60s. That whole concert, it didn't feel like I was in 2018. I feel like I just went into a time machine. Now, keep in mind, okay, all these musicians were in their early mid-70s at this time. John would have been 73 years old, and the ZZ Top members would have been all around that age as well. And their voices, their energy, their guitar play was insane. They all sounded and performed beautifully. That was money well spent. And I'll never forget when my parents surprised me with the tickets for this show. When Mom told me that she bought tickets for this show, I was like, somebody please pinch me right now. Tell me I'm dreaming. I'll never forget the feeling of when she showed me that she bought tickets for this show. I never would have thought in a million years that I would ever get an opportunity to see a show like this. I'll tell you what, these songs that I just listed earlier, like for example, when John Fogerty did Who'll Stop the Rain, that song is like one of my favorite Creedence songs of all time. And just hearing it live was so epic. I can't put it into words. There is something about live music, especially from Fogerty, that just speaks to your soul. The way he writes his songs, the way it connects with people and their lives, it is amazing. Beautiful songwriting. I don't think he gets enough praise for his song work. And of course, he'd go on to play Green River, and he also performed that song alongside Billy Gibbons as well. Just, dude, I'm telling you right now, Billy Gibbons is one of the greatest blues guitarists I have ever seen in my life. And I'm going to touch upon that a little later on when I get into the ZZ Top section. And John would go on to perform, after Green River, he played Love and War, which is a Brad Paisley cover. And then after that, of course, he played the classic Creedence song, "Have You Ever Seen Rain?" Like, that's another like huge hit that everyone knows. Everybody knows that song. And of course, I heard it through the grapevine. "As Long as I Can See the Light," "Keep On Chugging." And oh man, this next one was insane. This next Korean song, another huge fave of mine. You ready for this one? "Born on a Bayou." I love that song because Fogerty did this really cool thing with his voice where he was, like, "Born on a Bayou," just he was singing with this more grittier, deeper tone, and he still got it, man. 73 years old, and he brought the house down. That song was like, oh man, just as someone who was born and raised in Illinois, that song really speaks to me. And "Jambalaya on the Bayou," he covered that song next, and that's a Hank Williams cover. Then he would go on to cover a song called "New Orleans," which was originally performed by Gary U.S. Bonds. And of course, he did another Creedence song called "Down on the Corner," which is a very catchy song with an amazing bass riff. Highly recommend you check that song out. Absolutely beautiful. And so at this point, John took a semi-break from Creedence songs, and he played the top 2 hits off of his Center Field album. And he played, so one of the hit singles off of Center Field was the song "Center Field." Now, even if you're not a rock and roll fan, you know this song "Center Field," because this song is played at every baseball game known to man. Like, I hear this song every time I go to Busch Stadium in St. Louis. You can't go to any baseball game without hearing this song at least once. Like, John wrote this whole song just talking about his love for baseball growing up in the 40s and 50s and the early 60s. And it's such an amazing song. And one of the most breathtaking parts about this is that he played center field with a baseball bat guitar. I'll never forget when seeing him play that baseball bat guitar is just, it was so cool to see. I had no idea that guitar even existed. It was amazing. And of course, after center field, he would go on to play "Old Man Down the Road," which is the opening song for Center Field. And what's crazy about that song is that John actually faced a lawsuit from the other Creedence members because apparently he got a copyright lawsuit, something like that, because apparently the band members said that "Old Man Down the Road" sounded too much like a other Creedence song. I believe it was "Born on a Bayou." And John, of course, did win the case because, it's like, fellas, of course this song sounds similar to "Born on a Bayou." John wrote it. It's his music. How can you sue somebody for plagiarizing himself? You know what I mean? That whole court case, in my personal opinion, was a huge embarrassment. Just like, I cannot believe those guys did that to him. It's ridiculous. And of course, we get to possibly one of the most American songs ever written, "Fortunate Son." You all know this song. Everyone knows this. It's been used in dozens of movies. It's a pop culture icon. And what I love about this song is that when John played this song, red, white, and blue graffiti shot out of the stage near the end, and I was completely starstruck. And it's just, seeing this show with my dad was it was such a magical moment. Just like I'm with my dad, one of my biggest influences for my life and music. And him and I are just sitting next to each other enjoying this show on Father's Day in 2018. It was such a beautiful moment. I don't know if I'm ever going to have a concert that meaningful again. It's just everything about that show was just breathtaking. And speaking of Father's Day, about like halfway through the show, Fogerty was taking a small break. His daughter, who was 16 years old at the time, walked out on stage and gave him a Father's Day present. It was a bag, and it had a new flannel inside of it for him, and a bag of guitar picks. So I thought that was pretty cool. And so now we get back. So the last two songs that Fogerty closed the concert with, of course, was Bad Moon Rising. I'm telling you right now, when he started playing Bad Moon Rising, the minute I heard the opening guitar riff, I jumped out of my seat. I was just like, is this happening? Like this song here, I thought it sounded amazing on the record. Hearing this song live with the original singer, the hairs on my arms stood up instantaneously. It was just, whoa, this is magic, just insane. Now in the background, they had this beautiful 3D screen of a night sky with a full moon in the background. It was breathtaking. And then, of course, the ending song that John ended the concert with was Proud Mary, which is another Creedence song. An amazing track to end the show with. This show was over 2 hours long, and I never got tired for even a minute. My eyes were glued to that stage the entire time. And just to see John Fogerty live was such a special moment for me in my childhood growing up. And I saw this band this summer right after I graduated high school, and just what a time to be alive. And now we're going to cut into ZZ Top. So it's just like, how many people can say, right, that they saw ZZ Top and Fogerty in the same night? How many people can say that? This concert was just rock and roll to the fullest. And of course, ZZ Top, I hold them as one of the greatest trio acts of all time. They're up there with like Cream and the Police. ZZ Top is an amazing band. Their records are breathtaking. And of course, with ZZ Top, another cool little fact for you, ZZ Top held the record for the longest time that a band featured all original members. The lineup, of course, was Billy Gibbons on vocals and lead guitar, Dusty Hill as the bass player, and Frank Beard as on the drum kit. And that was the lineup the whole career, never changed. But sadly, Dusty Hill passed away in just last year in 2021, and I was devastated about that. They're right in the middle of doing their 50th anniversary tour, and it was sad to see him to hear about his death. And I like how at other shows they had to find a guy to fill in for him, but when they set up his microphone, they put his hat and shades on top of it during the shows, and I thought that was an extremely nice tribute they did for Dusty. And when he passed away, I felt extremely lucky to see this show. And I'm telling you, this band, they played their entire set list was all the hits of their career. They played all the hits. They literally opened up with Got Me Under Pressure, continue with I Thank You, Waiting for the Bus, Jesus Just Left Chicago, Give Me All Your Lovin'. Oh man, just Give Me All Your Lovin'. That is one of my favorite ZZ Top songs, man. And Got Me Under Pressure, that opening song, just, oh, dude, the energy. I'm saying this now. The energy that this show captured, you could literally power an entire city with the energy that this show produced. It was insane. And the other thing that really blew my mind was, like, keep in mind, right, this is in the middle of June. And like Dusty and Billy were out there wearing the full ZZ Top suit uniform. Like, can you imagine like how hot they must have been during that show? But it's like they didn't care, you know? I don't think it bugged them a bit. Just seeing them out there in those suits in 90-degree weather is just like, I think that shows you right there is how dedicated they were to their image and craft. And so, of course, after Give Me Some Lovin', they played Pearl Necklace, I'm Bad, I'm Nationwide, I Gots to Get Paid. Then they played 16 Tons, Just Got Paid. Then another huge fave of mine, Sharp Dressed Man. Even non-music lovers have heard this song. Like Sharp Dressed Man, it was literally used as the opening song for the Duck Dynasty reality show, which ran for like 10 years or something. Like Sharp Dressed Man, I love that song so much. Just an amazing hit. And after that song, they did Legs. And then the last two songs they did was they played a song called La Grange, which is which is an amazing song. And to me, that song, I think, like, it doesn't have that much vocals in it. I consider it a instrumental song. Like, it's got a little bit of lyrics in it, but it's mostly an instrumental song, and it's epic to say the least. I love that little drum technique that their drummer does. Where he hits the metal part of the hi-hat drum. It's pretty cool. And the last song they performed was Tush. And, oh man, I'm telling you right now, that whole opening act set the stage for what was about to come. And at this concert, I actually ended up buying me a couple of souvenirs to bring back. I actually bought a t-shirt with the tour poster on it. I bought I bought a John Fogerty guitar pick, and lastly, I bought a Creedence Clearwater Revival hat as well. And I still have all those items to this very day. I use the Fogerty pick still once in a while when I play guitar. I'm extremely out of practice, but I will get back into it someday. And the hat I really don't wear much anymore, but it's still cool to have. It just reminds me, like, yeah, I saw that amazing musician live. So that's the review of this whole concert to me. But just like the emotions I felt at this show, it was just pure gratitude. Like, I knew when I was at this show, I was just going to drink it all in. I barely took any phone video. I filmed a couple of songs during ZZ Top's opening, but I knew just to put that phone away and really absorb what I was witnessing, because I'm probably am not going to get another opportunity to see ZZ Top or Fogerty again. This was like a once-in-a-lifetime offer, and I knew that I was going to absorb this whole thing. I was not going to miss a moment. And I just drank it all in, man. And I'm telling you, this concert, walking out of that show, I have never, ever felt so fulfilled since like the AC/DC and Metallica concerts. This concert just reminded me how amazing live music really is when the time and effort is put into it. And during the COVID years, made me help realize how much I love concerts, and I will never, under any circumstances, take concerts for granted ever again. And this show is going to always hold a special place for me. And I'm always going to be feel so lucky that I got this amazing opportunity. And of course, I want to thank my parents because they're the reason this show happened. I would not have gotten to see them if it wasn't for them. And I gotta give a huge thank you to my mom for buying those tickets. Like, she's the big reason I got to see them. Like, it was a huge surprise, and I thank her so much for going out of the way, to give me the opportunity to experience one of my favorite musicians of all time perform live. Like, Fogerty is like how Paul McCartney is to some people. Like this man just holds a special place for me, and I wish I could meet Fogerty. He's one of my favorite musicians of all time. I love his music. Like, Bruce Springsteen even said once that he considers John to be the Hank Williams of this generation. And I agree with that statement 100%. I love his songwriting. I love his guitar play, and the way he performs during concerts. It's just, if you ever get a chance to see John Fogerty live, like, take the opportunity while you can. You won't regret it. He's one of the greatest musicians of all time, in my personal opinion. And he knows how to put on an amazing show. And I just want to say thank you for listening to this session. This session has held a very special place for me. I love that I got the opportunity to talk about one of my favorite concerts of all time. And just being able to share my love for this show with all you amazing listeners is a dream come true for me. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I will see all of you in the next one. Till next time. This is DJ Apollo here on the Tales of Music and Film.